Hello and welcome to the Corner 3 Show. My name's Alex.
My name's Ross.
My name's Zach.
And welcome back. It's been a little bit since we've been on the show, and it's been a little bit since the Pacers last played until their great win last night. But for our viewers on YouTube, you might have seen we have a little bit of a new digs. We got our own set, really more of a permanent room. So we're changing things up a little bit. Our set will change, but we're happy to be here. Ross, let's go right into it. Pacers, Trailblazers.
Yeah, Pacers Trailblazers. That was what night was that?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night. Pacers Trailblazers. Second time we played them, I feel like. First time we played them.
First time.
Not a good team. We should have taken care of business. So we have written down here. Both teams actually did shoot well. Portland shot 54.3% from the field. Pacers shot 50%, but Portland had 22 more field goal attempts, so a lot more rebounds, obviously, with that kind of a stat. Pacers got down early, big, and never climbed back out of it. Didn't feel like it. I don't know what you guys took away from that game.
Pretty much the same thing. There was no, I don't know. I felt like that was going to be an off game anyway. I thought we actually would match up better with them, just the way they play. Stinking Evan Turner decided to do something and be a tool. But
yeah, they obviously shot the ball a lot better than us. We were in the game really until the third, and that's when the lead grew. But as Quinn and Chris were saying on the broadcast, if we could just get some stops on defense, we would have been right there. Our offense was not the issue. It was one of those games where our defense just decided to not show up. But
they had 73 points at halftime.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
That's some teams.
Keep in mind, we held the Clippers to 70 in the entire game against them just a few days earlier. So obviously a completely reversed defensive effort. But they came back there in the fourth with an interesting lineup of Brooks, Stuckey, Ellis, Big Al, and then young Miles. And they actually got them back into the game until they just played too many minutes together, and obviously at some point that lineup is going to fall apart. But what do you guys think about that lineup? I don't think it's something that's going to last in the future, but what do you guys think?
Weird lineup, because those first three are the same kind of player we talked about before, Brooks, Stuckey, and Ellis, and yet it was something the Blazers weren't ready to handle. That was the first time Al Jefferson and Miles Turner played together on the floor as a unit. Miles Turner had a double-double. I'm surprised that unit worked. I don't know if McMillan will go back to that more often.
Hopefully not.
Maybe just in short bursts, it's enough to scare other teams and mess up their flow. It seemed to work in that game.
Yeah.
It's an interesting lineup. There's three guys out there who, when they play, they want the ball and they're looking to shoot. Brooks, as we know, Stuckey, and of course Ellis. So you'd think with those three out there it'd be kind of a screwy situation because all of them be calling for the ball, but obviously it got him back in the game a little bit because, I mean, they're obviously, all three of them are scorers, but it's just a weird lineup. It's more of a one-on-one lineup than anything.
Yeah, it presents a weird lineup for their team too, because you got three small guards. Monte is like 6'2", 6'3", and then you go from 6'2", 6'3" to like Big Al, who's like 6'11", and I don't even know how much he weighs. It's probably wrong, whatever it is in the roster book, but it's just a weird lineup. But, I mean, Damian and C.J. McCollum, they just lit us up. I mean, it's one of those games, too, where you came off riding high off the Clippers and you didn't know where Paul was at, C.J. and Seraphin were at health-wise, and you knew that you had that 4-day break coming up, so you had some time there. But moving on, last night, I stayed up, as many Pacers fans did, and there was a lot of Pacers fans actually at the Staples Center, but the Pacers won against the Clippers 111-102. First quarter, I looked at that game and I was like, oh, here we go again. And then something they do not do that often, come right back around, outscored them 75-46 in the second and third quarters. What do you guys think about really sweeping the Clippers for the season?
It's kind of like the same thing as you. At the very beginning, I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it looked like it was just like every time you looked at the ball was being moved by the Clippers. Blake Griffin would drive and throw it out for a three-pointer.
J.J. Redick hitting those threes,
J.J. Redick dropping them, which we were kind of worried about before. Yeah. That first quarter, I was like, oh my gosh, they're playing so much better.
Here we go again.
Somehow we hung around.
Yeah.
They shot 55% in the first quarter and 35% the rest of the way. So the defense finally turned on. And it's so weird. The Clippers beat Cleveland in Cleveland, San Antonio in San Antonio, but the Pacers now beat them twice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a team where we have their number. It always feels like there's a team like
and
Charlotte.
we haven't had their number in the past.
Number.
We've never had their number. Like Griffin's always gone off against us. I think David West just couldn't match with the speed. It's amazing. Oh no, for
Jordan wants to talk.
One of our posters is coming down for our iTunes fans. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting game. Paul was trying to find his groove there. I don't know if you guys saw it at the end of the second quarter. He had one of those moments where he's like, okay, I got to get back into it. Tried to cross over Mbamunte like 10 times, then just turned it over. But Godney Stuckey, he was Godney last night, just bullying people, bullied Rivers. And that second unit is what got us back in the game because we were down 23-8 in the first. And then the second unit came back and actually got the lead there for a little bit in the second quarter. But great game for Pacers fans because everyone contributed.
There were 7 guys in double figures.
Yeah.
We only had 9 turnovers. Clippers had 20. Again, just like the first time we played them. So kind of a repeat performance, which is nice. I found one dumb stat. Pacers haven't lost on Sunday yet, so we should keep playing games like these on Sundays.
It's a holy day, the Pacers.
Well, it's
for
just
them.
something that I guess we could go into more in the next section. But when you have everybody healthy finally, Stuckey's been injured. He's finally get back into it. And obviously with him healthy, you see what he can do, driving because he's got the bigger body to go against smaller guards, get to the lane, get the and one. And then you get Paul George back, obviously, hometown LA game. He's obviously wanting to show that he is true to form. He always plays good there. It's just good to see what this team can do when they're healthy, which we really haven't been the whole year.
No, we haven't really had our full lineup. If you think about even opening night, Miles Turner, he had like 2 practices in because of a concussion protocol, and then that night Stuckey gets injured. One random thing I was thinking about last night, but I know every Fox Sports Indiana broadcast, they show Pacers fans wherever they are. But I just feel like there's Pacers fans a little bit everywhere. I think it's a big part is because of the Knicks-Hicks era, and people kind of took sides, just like people kind of take sides with Colts-Patriots, and now you find Colts fans everywhere. But there was 2 Colts fans sitting front row center court at the game last night, and I guess there was some Indiana Michael Grady chants last night at the game at the end. I mean, that's awesome to see as far as, we're just a small market team, but
Paul's parents were there, right?
Yeah, the front row, right next to the bench. That was cool to see.
One thing I did want to bring out, though, and you have it written down here, but Glenn Robinson played 14 minutes, scored 0 points, but yet was one of our highest plus-minus guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to see him score some more, but we knew this was going to happen. Everybody coming back.
Yeah. He kind of, if you watched him, he played well. He didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't go out of his way to kind of play the way he was used to, just because everyone was back. But he and CJ in that second unit were the reason the Pacers got back into that game because the starters started awful, and he in the second unit, and what they did is they put Glenn at the 4, and so they moved Lavoie out, and the only time they brought Lavoie in is when Thad was struggling to guard Blake Griffin. So I think that's what McMillan needs to do. It's not just having your rotation and being really stubborn and having that permanent, but it's more of, okay, tonight we got Blake Griffin, or tonight we have Damian Lillard. How do we adjust our lineup so we can keep guys fresh, keep guys on him who, don't have heavy legs?
And I have a couple thoughts on that as well, especially with McMillan, but it's probably something we should save for a little bit later. Kind of moving on, big stories of the week. Obviously, the Pacers had 4 full days off. Right now, they've got a back-to-back. They play Golden State tonight. But having those 4 days off helped. We got Paul George back, C.J. Miles back, Kevin Seraphin back. And there was an article done, I think, earlier this week, how Paul George is trying to come back and become the man again for the Pacers. And, how long that takes, we don't know. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time to come back from injury. You're still getting used to your teammates, especially when this is the most relatively new roster, and he's missed 4 games now?
4 or 5 games.
4 or 5
I think he's
games
even missed a couple games
2
before.
weeks.
Yeah.
So he's got to get back in the groove of it too. So it's just a question of how long is that going to take,
I mean, he had some flashes last night. He hit the game-sealing 3-point shot. I don't know if you guys saw it.
That was a sloppy play. But
yeah, sloppy play, but those are the plays he kind of makes. Those are the all-star plays, just making something out of nothing. And he had some great passes to Thad. He was whipping the ball around, and it was just nice to have another guy out there who can move the ball. But it's going to be a couple games, but here you go tonight. He's got his rust off. He might be, ready to have a little payback against the Golden State.
We didn't have him the first time against Golden State, right?
No.
So it'll be nice to have some firepower tonight.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we had anybody against Golden State. Miles Turner didn't play either.
It was rough.
We had no offense at all. But
yeah,
you mentioned it. Everybody's coming back, but coming back at the right time. We're going to have 12 games now in 19 days after we just had this 4 or 5 day break.
That's a lot of games.
8 of them are on the road. I wrote down what we got coming up. I'll just run through it. Golden State, Phoenix, Dallas, Portland. Those are the next week. And then Charlotte, Miami, New Orleans, Detroit, Washington, New York, Boston, Chicago.
So I think it gets better towards the end a little bit.
Yeah, the end ends nicely. There's some winnable games in there, but only 4 at home, so we got to get everybody healthy and get back into the groove quickly.
And it looks like this team likes to play. I mean, I know we only have 2 road wins, but their 2 road wins are really 2 good road wins against the Thunder and the Clippers. So maybe this team can kind of get going. As I think Paul said in his JJ interview after the game, he said that the schedule kind of lent itself towards a winnable first few weeks, and then they didn't take advantage of those games. So now it's on them to kind of, win some games that they probably shouldn't win. Coming up, but
there's no time at home to get a practice in, but they have to gel on the road, and maybe that's how this team operates. They like to just go out there and play.
I'll take it. I'll take it. So we've talked about GR3, and with everyone coming back, so Paul's back, CJ's back, and Seraphin's back. Last night, CJ played, I think, 15 minutes. GR3 played 14. Kevin Seraphin didn't play, but how do you guys like this GR3 at the 4? I don't think you can do it against every team, as we mentioned earlier, but I think it could be definitely something that we use going forward.
It's kind of what they wanted, what Vogel wanted Paul George to do, right? Play at the 4 all those times, that type of player. Yeah. So it's the George light we've talked about before, not the scoring, but the length and everything. So I think it could be beneficial, could be good. I just want him to get more minutes, as we talked about in the past.
Yeah.
And it depends on the matchup, of course. You're not going to throw him out there against like Paul Millsap, because Paul Millsap will back him down all day.
Lunch.
But there's teams out there where they got slow 4s, not the greatest 4s, but you can throw him out there to make a matchup problem. He can go to the 3-point line. Also can play a little bit of defense, and it's good to see them do that, because I think at one point, which I don't know why, but like for the Clippers game, they had Crawford on Thad a couple times.
Yeah. Well, because they don't have that 3, like a small forward. So when they have to switch, so when Thad goes and screens someone, they switch. Then instead of having a taller guy on Thad, you have really a 2 on him. And I think 4 or 5 times in a row they tried to feed it to him. Three times it worked. But yeah, they have freedom now to kind of experiment a little bit, and I want them to do that, and that's what they did last night. I don't want them to get concrete in their ways and think that one lineup is the right lineup.
It's still early, like that game against the Trailblazers, first time Al Jefferson and Miles Turner played together. We have time to mess with those kind of lineups and what works, what doesn't.
And that's kind of the thing. I know I'm not been the biggest fan of McMillan so far, but I do like the fact that he is actually trying different lineups, seeing what he can get guys to do for him, whether that be he needs points, he needs defense, he needs a spark plug, something.
Yeah.
It's good to see somebody. I'm not saying Frank Vogel did try. The roster may have limited him, but it's good to see McMillan just being like, okay,
might as well, see what happens.
Yeah.
No reason to, get to February and not know what could have been if we would have found a lineup that worked.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So as we move forward, obviously this week, tonight, 10:30, one of our road games will be against the Golden State Warriors.
Huge sigh.
As we all know, we got blown out the last time. We didn't have a lot of people playing. Obviously, I think Paul George was out. Miles Turner didn't play. I feel like we had someone else.
Teague
was out.
Yeah, CJ was out. Teague injured his ankle and didn't come back.
Which every Pacers fan doesn't really go in expecting to. They wanted to be competitive. I don't think anybody expected them to win. Tonight, it should be interesting to see, as we all been discussing. We're healthy finally. We've been playing pretty well lately. But like I said, this is the best team in the league. Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, besides, kicking people in the hands and nuts.
We'll get to that.
That'll be for a little bit later. But it'll be interesting to see how we match up tonight.
Yeah. Key matchups, every damn body. It's everybody. Everybody is a matchup.
Maybe
Zaza.
Maybe
Zaza, who had that missed layup that what was the guy on the Sixers who missed the layup earlier with LeBron? Covington. Yeah.
Do you think, just because of the style of play, is this a night where Glenn Robinson gets to run at the 4?
Definitely.
Kind of stay with Draymond Green.
Definitely.
He can match up great with Iguodala, with Draymond, all those guys.
Yeah, when they go to that death lineup, he's perfect to come in. I don't think they can run with I maybe Thad can play in a little bit, but they got to run the floor. So I think keeping Thad fresh with GR3 would be perfect for tonight. So we get a tinker tonight.
Yeah. I'm probably going to go with the Warriors. The guy I'm really interested in, who I think will be the difference maker in this game, is Rodney Stuckey. I think Rodney Stuckey, with him being healthy again, him bodying guys, driving to the lane, this is the type of night where if Curry gets put on him, Curry doesn't like to get physical. So you start driving, putting your body into him, he gets in his head, he gets frustrated with the calls. If he gets called for one foul, he throws a fit. So this is a game where I think if Rodney Stuckey's on, he could be the difference maker between a win and a loss tonight. For me personally.
That's what he did last night. I mean, he's just a bully down there. He's a boxer, just going to the rim. And I think PG said it again in his, keep on referencing a JJ interview, but just getting to the rim, and then it's just demoralizing when you start up at the top of the key, which he does, and he just puts his head down, and you know that he's just going to beat you. That just sucks as your team. I mean, you're like, well, what can we do? I mean, who do we want to throw at him? He's just a good player when he's healthy.
So, Golden State, Pacers, who do you got?
I got the Pacers tonight.
Ooh,
Special
man.
upset.
I like it. All right.
Upset special. You going with the Pacers as well, Ross?
No, I'm going with Golden State. There's no way.
Ross is trying to catch up in the...
He's still...
It's a new month. It's all fresh. We're back to square one. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I don't know, Ross. I think it might
I
be
like
over
your
for you.
optimism, but...
if you just go optimism the whole time, then you just feel better. And if they win, then you're right as well. It's just like a win-win situation. If they lose, you're just like, oh, of course they lost. I was just kidding.
That's true.
I'm just kidding.
But then the next game, we have another revenge game with Phoenix, at Phoenix. I feel this is a game we need to win. You need to beat the teams that you're better than. Teams that are below you in the standings. They're only 6-14. We got embarrassed here in Indy last time.
Yeah. I
feel the Pacers will come to town. I mean, they seem to play better after terrible losses. The Portland game, get hammered, we come and crush the Clippers. So I have a feeling the Golden State game is going to be a loss. Maybe they'll feed off of that and come back to play. Key matchups are always going to be Bledsoe and Booker for their guard play. But those guards, besides Booker, aren't really known for their threes.
Yeah.
They're going to be driving. Make them take some shots. Make them take jumpers besides Booker. And then inexperienced. They have a very young team. The Suns do. I think the Pacers, with their veteran presence, can show them up a little bit in that aspect.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I feel like, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 years, the Pacers always play down. No matter who's the coach, they play down to the level of their competition. They'll get hyped for the big games, and then you'll go play, stinking the 76ers, and you'll lose the 76ers, who win 2 games in a month. I'm hoping with the different roster, new coaching, maybe it's a new mindset, and we can actually turn things around and beat, like you said, beat the teams we're supposed to beat.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, go ahead.
I was going to say, you look at their team, they've got good guards, Bledsoe, Booker, but then once you get past that, it's kind of a hodgepodge of players.
Well, Knight is actually probably had the best game against us, 17-5. But I was just looking at their stats here, completely balanced. I mean, Bledsoe only played 13 minutes. T.J. Warren only played 9 minutes. Marquise Chris only 16. Booker only 23.
They didn't have to, though.
They didn't have to play. Early. I mean, they just got up early and it was over. Pacers just had no energy. I think that was the first game too of starting to sit Paul and just kind of taking the L's one by one there. And Glenn Robinson hadn't made his miraculous basketball changing evolution into this amazing all-star player that we all want to start now. But totally different team, I think, for the Pacers, and it should be a different game. It should be a win. I'm taking the Pacers.
So we're all taking the Pacers?
I'm going with the Pacers.
All right. I like that.
We're going to take the Pacers on that
3-game winning streak for me, if I'm right, which I'll take. All right, next on Friday night, we have Dallas. Another revenge game, but this is for them, obviously. But they're the worst team in the league, I'd probably say right now. Injuries everywhere. Dirk's not back. He's not healthy. Just a really struggling team. I don't really know where they go from here because Wesley Matthews, I'm just talking higher level here, but Wesley Matthews has not panned out to be the player that they thought.
For Matthews.
Well, I'd take that.
I like that.
But he has not panned out to be the player that the Mavs wanted. And Harrison Barnes, I never liked that signing from the get-go.
He's been playing well for them, but there's no one else. So
so it's kind of like,
well.
You're the only guy on a bad team. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I definitely have the Pacers here. I think the Pacers are going to hit their groove here. I think this is a good road trip for them.
String some wins together.
I'll take it. What do you guys think?
I'm going to go with the Pacers as well. Like you said, they have injuries. This is the team, you got Rick Carlisle as your coach, and you look at their starters, and you're like, man, these guys should be in the mix for at least the 7th or 8th spot in the West. But like you said, injuries have taken a toll.
Bogut's out, I think, as well.
Their bench isn't that great. But,
Outside
I think what's hurting them is, like you said, Wes Matthews has not been good. Last game, he went 3 for 16 against the Pacers. It's totally – I don't know if it's because he's not with Damian Lillard anymore. But, that guy used to light it up in Portland. Mm-hmm. And he just can't put it together for some reason in Dallas. And who knows what they're trying to do. Obviously, Dirk is aging. They got to find a new superstar soon. So does that mean they're going to be tanking? Or are they trying to get a good pick? Or
Dirk's got 2 years left, right? So
who knows?
This is the best way to tank, where you're still trying.
And Cuban came out
taking. That's
Cuban
what he said,
came out
right?
and said, "We're like, there's no way we're taking."
But they're tanking by losing because they're terrible and everybody's hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's going to try to make a move here towards the end of. Towards the trade deadline.
And get yourself a nice draft pick.
I don't know. It's interesting here because
David Robinson.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that wants to tank.
No, Cuban.
No, he's gonna be. He wants to make phone calls, try to get a superstar in there. Problem is, no superstars want to go there. He's been trying for 5 years to try to get a big name, and no one ever signs with him.
Yeah, they kind of get guys who no one else really wanted, but they also have a pretty injury-prone team. Bogut, Dirk, Darren Williams, Wesley Matthews, of course, tore his Achilles when Portland was about to make supposed to make a heck of a playoff run. But I think we've all got the Pacers here. Not really much on their team that scares me. And the Pacers should be getting a groove. They get a day's rest in between all these games. And then we didn't really talk about this much in our outline, but they come back the next day.
I think there's only one thing to say.
Yeah. Just don't let that happen again. We're talking about the Portland game on Basketball Day in Indiana on that Saturday. So it'll be a fun day for all basketball fans, and there's no better way to end it than a strong win against a Portland team who dominated us. I forgot the term that Quinn used last night, but they owned us. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So who are we picking on that game? We're finally back home after the long road trip. Pacers, Portland. What do we think?
I want to be the last one to make my decision.
I'll go Pacers. I'll go optimist.
Pacers. This is the time where they get. They'll be 14-10 after this, 15-10 after this road trip. Maybe I like it. I got some optimism here.
Just so I could take the lead in the standings, possibly. I'm going to go with the Trailblazers.
Fine.
I'm a Pacers fan, but I also want to win this competition, so I'm going to go with Portland.
Believe in the Pacers, people. Believe in the Pacers. So let's take a quick look at the standings before we get into some general NBA talk. Cleveland and Toronto pretty much tied there for the first spot. Cleveland 13-5, and Toronto at 14-6.
6-game winning streak. Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto looks good. And Cleveland skipped out a bit. I forgot. What did LeBron say? What was his quote the other day? He said they have to stop. The honeymoon period is over, something like that, because they lost 3 in a row there. They lost to the Bulls at home after LeBron had to wear his Cubs uniform. But you look at the Pacers; they're in the 9th spot right now. They're only 2 games out of 2nd, though.
Reggie Jackson's back, Detroit, so above us is going to be a little harder to climb back up.
I think the Knicks are faltering, though.
Charlotte too.
What I'm looking at the Knicks here. The Knicks have won their last 3 actually, but Cleveland's lost their last 3. The Bulls have some turmoil issues. Maybe, hopefully, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But
for sure. Compared
to the West, the Pacers would be exactly where they are right now in the East. So there is a lot of parity in both conferences compared to some years where the West was just, dominant.
Yeah. So after we discussed the rank or standings, we're going to go on to some general NBA talk. One of the guys who's been lighting it up. Hello. Is
his name?
Can't even pronounce it.
The Greek freak.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, it's his 4th year. The dude he's lengthy. Small forward playing the point guard. Jason Kidd's obviously found something that works. He's having a career year. He's shooting 52%. Not a great 3-point shooter, only like 23.8% from the field, but he's averaging 8 rebounds a game, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and 22 points a game. I wish part of me just wishes he's like the kind of guy you like create on 2K
exactly
to play point guard. Tall, lengthy dude who's athletic, is going to dunk on dudes. And
it just takes a while to get your skill up because he's taller, like the VC.
Yeah. I like the guy.
Yeah.
He's exactly what you would build as my player on 2K.
Most exciting fast break in the league. He takes 2 steps from the three-point line to get to the rim. It seems like, he doesn't have a shot yet, but he can get to the rim whenever he feels like it. And we started talking about this because that game against Cleveland last week, I think. Someone stood up to LeBron and said, "I'm going to take you. I'm not afraid of you." And I feel like this is his arrival year. I don't know if he has an all-star spot locked up in the East. Probably. I don't know. But he's fun to watch for sure.
He's definitely fun to watch. I mean, he's, like you guys said, he's the player you create on 2K. And I think he's a potential superstar. I only think he's 21, 22 still. It's his 4th year in the league, but it feels like he's been here for a while. But he's just developing. And, I mean, I don't know how you match up with him because if you start him at point guard, then a guy like PG has to take him, and then,
messes everything up.
Messes everything up. So he's a matchup problem, as like some cliche sports announcer would say. He's a matchup problem out there. But obviously a stud. Okay, let's get to something I really want to talk about, the Draymond Green kick situation. So just to preface this, last year in the playoffs, and even the regular season, some became an issue where Draymond Green had violent kicks.
Steven Adams.
To the
LeBron.
groin. Yeah. He likes to flail his lower extremities in a way. Well, that sounds interesting. He likes to flail his lower extremities in a way that usually ends up with his foot above someone's head.
It's a demonstrative flop.
Yes, it's ridiculous. And now it's just become, he's hardwired to do this. But before the season, the NBA came out, and they always have points of emphasis, and one of those was unnatural acts. And it was really just targeting these groin kicks that seem to keep on happening and over and over and over again. But in the past 2 games, we've had 2. We've had one kick to the head of James Harden, which was actually a flagrant foul, flagrant one. And then this past game against the Phoenix Suns where he kicked Marquise Chris and he hurt his hand. And it was ridiculous. So how do you think the league should handle this going forward? Kick him out.
They came out saying it's a focus this year.
Yeah.
And he's still doing it. I have no sympathy for Draymond. If the league is going to crack down on it and make guys change their ways.
Didn't the league fine J.R. Smith like
when he
$50,000 for tying people's shoes and throwing them and stuff?
Yeah, they need to come down on Draymond.
It's especially if you watch the play where he kicks Chris's hand for the Suns. It's why are you even flailing like that?
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
He literally gets fouled, throws the ball up, and then he decides to kick his leg up. And
he wasn't
kick
even
the guy
jumping. He's above the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the ball getting ripped out of his hands, and he's trying to flail up top.
And I know him and his agent wrote a letter this week saying, you really know how my body works and my kinesiology. Did you study that in college? All this stuff. And it's like
shut your mouth.
You're an idiot, dude. Like, you're obviously kicking people on purpose, and it's getting ridiculous. So obviously the way to get guys back is to hit them in their pocket. So you got to
kick him in
I'm
their pocket.
I'm just tired of it too because, I mean, Marquise Chris is a young star. What if he breaks his hand? I mean,
he
honestly,
could have broken a finger with that.
It's just, I understand that it's probably just part of his game where he just really wants to draw the foul, and it's just something he does. I mean, Dirk does the thing where he kind of kicks off with his fadeaway.
Reggie used to kick his foot.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like it's getting to a point now where it's getting ridiculous and it could hurt someone. But Draymond Green is like, they don't know my body. Leave my body alone.
They
suck. We won. Anyways, welcome back to the Corner 3 show. Cavs, we mentioned the standings. We won't spend much time on this, but they've been hitting a little bit of a road bump there. J.R. Smith kind of struggled. He's been up and down, which has kind of been a little bit the core of their problems there a little bit. And Kyrie's been a little up and down as well. But they'll be fine. They'll be number 1 in the East. I don't think we have any doubt
no story.
there.
Yeah. Just
no story there. But some news that broke earlier today, Rajon Rondo. Corner 3 breaking news. Da-da-da. I know we can't use that. Whatever, I forgot our intro sound. What's our intro sound? It's like... Anyways, that noise. Rajon Rondo is suspended 1 game by the Chicago Bulls for conduct detrimental to the team. And, of course, everyone turns to Woj when something big happens. And evidently he got into a big argument after their loss with the Warriors with assistant coach. Your guys' thoughts? Because I have a couple points here that I don't know if you guys thought of, but go ahead.
Sarcasm. Didn't see that coming. Knew that was going to happen eventually. Rondo has a track
He's a temper?
record of not getting along with certain people. And they're playing so well, you felt like something's going to happen. There's no way they keep this up the whole season. That's all.
He's got a history of it. I kind of just wish somebody had it on video.
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh, yeah. Like the Draymond Green stuff.
Like the Draymond Green stuff, or like totally different sport, but they had someone had a video of Cam Newton getting talked to by his coach for not wearing a tie last night.
They have video of that?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta listen to that.
He was the tie? That was the clothing thing?
Yeah. It's like a rule they have. But anyway, I wish someone had a video of it just because I'd like to know what they were talking about and like if it ever got physical at all or whatever. What would happen for you to get suspended? So it's Rondo. We're used to it.
Well, one thing when I heard about this is I was watching that Cavs Chicago game mainly just to see LeBron in a Cubs uniform because go Cubs go. But the Bulls announced before the game that D-Wade was not going to make the road trip to Dallas for the back-to-back. And I forgot who was commentating. I think it was Reggie. And Reggie said, well, D-Wade better ball out tonight and get that win because, if they lose tonight, then lose in Dallas just because he wanted to get some rest. That's pretty ridiculous. And then they get blown out by the Mavericks. It's like an embarrassing loss. After beating the defending world champions, you go to Dallas and get blown out by a team that doesn't have anyone healthy. And then Rondo has this huge blow-up. I mean, that's on D-Wade. That's completely on Dwayne Wade. You know who Rajon Rondo is. So you don't make the trip at all. And Cleveland, by the way, stayed the night in Chicago. So I guarantee you he went out with his boy, LBJ. So I just thought it was pretty interesting. That's not a team, quote-unquote, team leader move to stay behind. And then you find out that your starting point guard gets into it with your coach. I mean, that is completely on Dwayne Wade because you know what you're getting with Rajon Rondo.
It's a team ready to implode, which is great for us. They're above us in standing.
I think so.
Perfect timing. We'll go next to our predictions for the month of December. Started fresh. Yeah, thanks, guys. I lost the month of November with a record of 6-7.
What did I get? What was the other records?
Alex was 8-5. Zach was 7-6. At the end, because we included a couple college games in there, Pacers games, TNT games.
Personally, on the punishment, I think it should be. I don't think it should be monthly. I should be end of the year.
You have to do it the whole end.
Make it a grand. Make it a huge grand thing.
So we're gonna keep track of every month, and then it.
Yeah, you just your final record at the end of the year before the playoffs.
We're gonna have Ron Artest on.
I've heard Evan Turner jerseys, Ron Artest jerseys, writing on a chalkboard.
No, we're gonna have him on, and he's just gonna rant at you for 30 minutes. I love basketball. I love basketball.
That would be torture. That would be fantastic, actually. But so starting a fresh month, starting off, we're all 1-2. We all picked different games, but it all came out to be 1-2 so far. But we have 2 TNT games on December 8th. First one, Spurs versus the Bulls. We just talked about the Bulls maybe imploding. What is your guys' take on that? What do you think? Who's going to win?
Bulls.
The Bulls are home. Spurs.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty.
I just think the Bulls are a team that caught some early season luck, and now it's kind of fizzling out. And you've got the Spurs, who coached by the greatest coach in the world. So I agree. I think Popovich is just the best.
Unless they decide to sit somebody for some reason.
Yeah,
Popovich does.
Popovich might sit himself.
That's true. Well, I'm going to go with Spurs, too. I think that one's pretty easy. We'll see when it gets there. But then the next game we have is Raptors T-Wolves. Raptors continue to look hot. T-Wolves are starting to win, too.
Pesky.
What do we think there? I know. That's the one.
I kind of want to pick something different because I know you guys are going to probably pick the Raptors, but I think Toronto's at home. Toronto is basically tied for first place in the Eastern Conference. T-Wolves are a young, talented team, but they're obviously struggling. I think they're like 6-14. I'm going to go with the Raptors. I mean, we'll probably tie this week, but who cares? I'll pick the Raptors.
I'll pick the Raptors, too. I just think it's interesting how many early national games that the T-Wolves have gotten. I know the Pacers got bumped for their game later this month. It was a TNT game, and it got bumped down to just another game. But I just think it's interesting, how much
team everybody thought was going to make the step.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the Bucks of last year. All the talk was around the Bucks last year. Now it's all around the T-Wolves, and I mean they'll get there eventually, but they're still super young. But yeah, I definitely have the Raptors there. They're playing great.
I'll take the Raptors too. We all did some different Pacer picks, so we'll see what our record is after this week.
I'm an optimist. Yeah. All right, let's do a little bit of college talk here. I'll throw in some Butler at the end too because I forgot about something. But IU with a big Big Ten ACC Challenge win. They won a couple years ago in the same matchup at Assembly Hall, but IU won 76-67 over UNC just 8 days after their very bad loss against IPFW. So what do you guys think of the game first? Because I have some other things to talk about this.
My first question was, did we pick predictions for this game last week? I think we
did.
I was the only one who picked.
You're the only one that
IU,
picked
maybe?
IU?
That was
or
somebody else did. That's what gave me another win and dropped some of you down. But I think it wasn't enough to upset.
I mean, I was actually surprised that. Obviously, the score was only 9 points, but it felt like IU controlled the entire game,
exactly.
Which kind of surprised me for the length that UNC has. But obviously, I think even what's his name, North Carolina's coach,
Roy Williams
was talking about how just the atmosphere.
I was about to bring that was the
put them
topic
above what these guys were ready for.
That Dean Smith goes and calls out the Dean Smith Center at UNC and says, it'd be great if we had like a atmosphere like that any night other than Duke,
which is impressive. I mean, North Carolina, Duke, IU, those are Kansas. Those are the
Assembly Hall is
teams.
something else, though. I mean, if you go there on a big night, I've went there for a Purdue game once. I mean, it's just a different type. Mm-hmm. In Assembly Hall, it's all stacked up on top of you, and further renovations are actually huge. But good one for IU.
They were honoring the 81 championship team, so they had some veterans in the crowd to get pumped to. But I think what we talked about with the IPFW loss was true. I mean, IPFW played out of their minds. They're never going to play that well again. IU looked past them. IU's good. They just looked past them, and they got to show it there.
No Bob Knight, and thank goodness. I'm so disgusted and done with Bob Knight.
Another topic for that time.
Just good. I don't think people want to see him back anymore. But a quick note on Butler. They came back from a strong road trip, got a win over Central Arkansas, but they're the second to last game for the basketball day in Indiana. They play a ranked, I think 23rd or 22nd Cincinnati team. Cool thing, all four teams in the Crossroad Classic. Is it Crossroad Classic? The four.
It's still called Crossroad Classic.
It's still called.
Yeah, all four teams 16, are ranked. 17? Notre Dame at 23, Butler at 16.
We may have to go.
Purdue is at 13, and then IU's at 8. Mm-hmm. So all Indiana teams, I think that's where we had them too as well for the preseason rankings. But all Indiana teams playing really well, and it's fun to see a bunch of teams on the national level, not just our beloved Pacers.
True. I hope we get to go to that game.
Yeah.
So next we have an interesting segment. We were doing some research on Indiana.
Well, shout out to Evan Smith.
Yeah, good call, Evan. Thank you for this. It was really fun to do this research. We're looking up Indiana high school players who are now playing in the NBA. And we're just curious how many there were, who they actually were. And Alex says he can name them all.
Whoa.
He played. He's got a relationship with most of these guys. So I thought, okay, I will quiz Alex. I will give him a timer.
Man, it is so weird. I just thought about that. I can name Yogi here. That is the craziest thing in the world. It seems like just the other day he was trying to get me to set him up.
All right, I'm going to give you a minute.
The schoolmate.
There are 17 players currently in the NBA who played high school ball here in Indiana.
Okay.
17. I will give you 1 minute. Ready, go.
All right. We have Yogi. We have Gordon Hayward.
Yep.
We've got Cody Zeller. We've got Tyler Zeller.
There you go.
We've got Mike Conley. We've got, let me go through the teams. Jeff Teague. We've got George Hill. We've got Trey Lyles.
There you go.
We've got, go through teams, Courtney Lee.
Mm-hmm.
We've got no one there. I'm going through the divisions in my head. This is awful. How many was that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, you got to give me, okay. Who went North Central? Eric Gordon.
Yep.
You've got, I'm just thinking high schools now. Brandon Dawson? No, he's not in the NBA.
No, he's not in the NBA.
Guy from Butler.
Got another
Gordon
Indiana.
Hayward. Sheldon Mack?
Nope.
No. What are you talking about, Butler?
He's trying to mess you up.
Another Pacer?
No, another Pacer. Gary, Indiana.
Oh, Glenn Robinson.
There you go.
Glenn Robinson the third. Okay, give me a hint.
Grizzlies, you got time.
No. Zach Randolph.
I'll give you Zach Randolph.
Dang it.
So you missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You missed each one more.
Gary Harris.
Mm-hmm. Josh
McRoberts, Carmel. Oh, man.
Trey Lyles.
He said Trey Lyles.
He did say Trey Lyles.
RJ Hunter.
And
the one I forgot was Demetrius Jackson.
He's still on the roster.
He's still on the roster, yeah. There were a couple on there who were on the list but didn't make the final roster. Robbie Hummel, Brandon Dawson, a couple other guys. But yeah, that's who's currently in the NBA from Indiana.
Gary Harris is injured right now. He had a good start. Now he's injured.
And I was looking through the top states that produce NBA talent.
Mm-hmm.
So Indiana wasn't in the top 4. The obvious top 3 are California, New York, Illinois. New York City, Chicago, and all of California. Number 4, I thought was interesting. I already asked Zach or Alex. What do you think, Zach?
Who are the 3 you've already named?
California, New York, Illinois. They're top 3 states that produce NBA talent. Number 4 isn't one that you would necessarily
For
pick.
NBA talent.
Yeah, they went to high school in this state.
I don't know.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Actually. I know. Tyreek Evans was one on that list, and it was a lot bigger. I didn't write down any other names. I found that surprising.
Oh,
Oh,
I was doing some background research. I promise.
Calm down.
you may as well get that off. It might mess up your audio.
But Evan sent us this to look up the research on because he asked us who are the top 3 current and top 3 all-time Indiana born and now played in the NBA, either then or now players. I didn't think there was a discussion here, but after we brought it up, I think there may actually be a little bit of discussion, especially on the all-time list, because it's either your number 1 pick is either Larry or Oscar. I don't know if you guys had a chance to put together a top 3 all-time.
All-time?
I did.
My number 3, I think the 3 is really where the fun discussion is. Like, who are you going to include as your number 3?
All right, let's do. Want to start with number 1? Want to start with number 1 then?
Sure.
No, let's start with number 3.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's do
Well,
number 3.
no, let's go with 1 because everybody
So
knows
one?
that. Mine is Larry.
Larry.
Yeah, I'm going Larry, too. I mean, Oscar,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Triple-Double, but if you look at the pace of the game,
It's Larry Legend. It's the Great
gotta
White
be
Hope.
Larry Legend. And then, therefore, Oscar Robinson would be probably number 2. I think that's the easiest. That was a quick one, too.
Quick note. I got to
Sure.
work out or play in Larry Bird's old French Lick High School gym, and it's just like surreal to see like his jersey up there, and then like him in the yearbook photos, and then like or in the roster photos, and it's this 6'9" white lanky kid, and then like everyone else 5'11". But
To know that guy came out of French Lick, which if you've ever been to French Lick, I mean, there's a golf resort and that, but
Great
before
golf.
him, there's nothing there.
there.
Nothing. It's a
Put it on the
nothing
map.
town.
Everyone knows. Bill Simmons says that's where the basketball Hall of Fame should be. I agree.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
So
His concept for a Hall of Fame, by the way, with like the pyramid structure, it's a really cool idea.
it's
It
a
would make
long
the Hall of
book,
Fame.
But you should read his book, the Big Book of Basketball, the
Yeah.
Basketball Bible, he calls it.
It's so good.
Reggie's ranked too low, but that's my own opinion.
It's too good.
So, Zach, who is your number 3? I know this is kind of, we can wait for you.
Shout out to the Big O, by the way.
Right.
We don't want to diminish him in any way. He's
Well, we do
obviously
my
a
3,
top
'cause I did
15
all
player,
this
top 10
research.
player of all time.
All right, yeah, you can go. You can go first. My third was a tough one. I mean, I have a third, so.
I went through the whole list. My third, he's not a Hall of Famer. Played recently, actually played high school ball in Elkhart, Indiana. Huh? Sean Kemp. I'll go Sean Kemp. You know he's from Indiana?
Yeah, I knew Sean. He played in the last, or one of the last, or like, not the one of the last, but it was one of the most attended state championship games ever at
Most
RCA Dome.
exciting players in the NBA in the 90s with
Yeah.
the Sonics until he got too much into drugs and messed himself up with that. But Sean Kemp is my
And has the
third.
greatest dunk with the point.
Oh, I love that one. In your face.
So good. All right, Zach, let's hear it.
Well, I went through a bunch of them, but the one I, based off of what was able to do, he has his number retired.
Mm-hmm.
I went with George McGinnis.
Nice. That's
George
about
A lot of people forget he's from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Oh, he
no.
went to Washington, right? He and
Yeah.
Billy Keller both went to Washington, which is pretty crazy if you think about it.
That's a good pick. I actually wrote down the Hall of Fame. Indiana has 6 Hall of Fame players. Larry Bird, Oscar Robinson, Slick Leonard as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
Clyde, I always say the name wrong,
Yeah.
Lovelett, same time as Slick Leonard, they were rivals, and Louis Dampier.
Louis Dampier played at Southport.
Yeah, McGinnis is not retired yet, but I'm sure it'll be soon.
Yeah.
You mean Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's why I made
Oh,
that Hall of
hopefully
Fame.
he is. He's
He is
kinda
definitely
been-
retired.
still
He's
balling.
ancient. Who's your 3? There's some good names
I've
on
been
that
going
list.
back and forth. George McGinnis. I didn't even think about George McGinnis.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I don't want to say Scott Skiles,
I forgot he's from Indiana too.
but I mean, I almost,
Assists.
yeah.
He had that record.
I mean, you can almost even throw a Conley up there as far as his body of work
I was
and what
thinking
he's
to ask
done.
You guys, current players, who do you think would crack the top 3? I think Conley has the best
Conley
chance.
and Hayward, if he becomes an all-star and does anything more, but I'm gonna go Conley. I mean, I have some bias there, but I mean, the funny thing is with Mike Conley, he's always been an Indianapolis kid. Well, his family moved from Arkansas, but he's always been an Indianapolis kid. And when he came out of LN, he was not the guy. It was obviously Odin. And then when he went to Ohio State, he was not the guy. It was still Odin. And even when they went to the draft, it was still Odin. He was not even projected like top 20, and then he got picked He got picked 4th. And ever since, he's been an absolute stud. And everyone says if he was in the East, he'd be a multi-time All-Star.
Highest paid player right now.
Yeah,
the new
he's just a great player. I mean, you can't dog on him for anything. Shout out to the jersey behind us.
Stinking injury.
Yes,
guaranteed All-Star this year.
No surgery though. By the way, he's just resting. But I don't know. I'll take Conley, but I'd say like. He didn't play in the NBA, but John Wooden obviously had probably one of the biggest impacts on basketball. We should probably do, think about it, Pops from Merrillville. You got some Indiana ties here.
That'd be a coaching debate, like top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. You have Pop and Wooden from Indiana. That's pretty awesome. Oh, creepiest thing in the world, by the way, for anyone who lives on the South Side. If you go to Martinsville High School in their gym, they have something out of like a Madame Tussauds wax museum, except it's of lesser quality of John Wooden, like when he's like 75, 80, and it is the creepiest thing in the world.
Like a statue downtown Indy where he's bent over and all the legs
No,
are
it's
chopped
him,
off.
but like it's like lifelike. So like hair and just like greasy. It looks like it's like they just stuffed his body. It's the nastiest thing in the world. And like you just walk around the corner, it's right there. So it's high school basketball season. Gyms are open. Check it out.
So that's our corner 3 for this week.
Well,
one more.
We got one more. We're supposed to do the top 3 current Indiana players.
Yeah,
Top
well,
3
that's
current.
from the guys I just listed. So
Okay.
I guess you could put Conley at the top
Top
of
3
yours.
right now.
I mean, you want to go first while you think about it?
I have Conley, Hayward, and
My third one was another tough one. Was debating on
The third
that.
one's always a tough one. Yeah, I agree.
it's either Eric Gordon or Cody probably.
Mine was.
Oh no,
one-
Zach Randolph. I'm sorry.
All right, there you go. That was
Randolph.
mine. I had 1 Conley, 2 Hayward, 3 Randolph.
Are we talking how they're playing right now?
I'm saying in
'cause
general,
he's
like
kind
in
of
general.
fallen
Because if
off.
you said right now, then you could throw George Hill into
Yeah, I was
there,
going to say, because right now George Harold Teague would be 3.
But I'm just talking about overall record, their
I'm
track
agreeing
record
with
in
you
the
guys on
NBA.
that too.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Also, don't forget we are on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play,
That's it.
and that's it.
That's all you
I feel
need to
we
know.
do so
That's
much
all you
stuff,
need to
which
know.
Leave a review, like.
Yes. Spread the word,
subscribe.
people. We're gonna have our guests on soon. We just want to make sure our audio gets.
We're finally getting
Perfect.
it down. I think I don't hear an echo for
We're
the
getting
first
it-
time in a long time.
We're getting it down, people. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Peace.